Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome back. Thanks for clicking on again. I don't understand why, but you know what? You want more, and I'm here to give you more. Welcome back to the Green Line Breakdown, episode 2. First week of the season in the books. And it couldn't have been a better start. I mean, if you watch the games, you had banner night, absolutely waxed the Knicks. Then we had a couple cupcake layup games, which ended up being more than I thought they would be. And here we are, Monday, getting ready to face the Bucks, which will be probably the second test of the season. Let's jump right into it. I want to thank you guys again for coming back. Hopefully you watched the games. If not, I'm going to give you a little playback and what might have happened, what you might have missed, and I'll just give you my thoughts. Didn't know what to expect. First game of the season. The team's all back. The gang's all here. Svi Mihailuk's gone, but R.I.P. him. He's not getting another ring. The question was, are we going to sprint out the gate? Or are we going to have growing pains coming into the new season? Are we going to have that mud brain? We just want a chip. We don't have to try that hard. Or were we going to lock in, take all the feedback the team got during the summer, all the disrespect, all the criticism, even though they put the work in and accomplished what they were told they never would? You know, what was going to happen? Are we going to blow them out of the water right away? And seemingly the latter happened. If you watch the game, we tied the 3-point scoring record with 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter and could not actually get past that point because we missed 13 straight threes in a row. But before that, we hit 29 on about 80% shooting, which is an incredible number. I mean, usually the average is 40. So if you're hitting double, that's usually good chance you're going to win. The New York Knicks going to be our rival for the season. Maybe going to be the people to dethrone us because they got, like previously mentioned, they got Karl-Anthony Towns. They got Mikal Bridges off a trade. They lost some of their shooting, but all the pieces are there to be a contender. And we absolutely blow them off the floor. I mean, they just got, dare I say, backshotted and left to do nothing. Now, I have a couple of thoughts on this. I'm going to share my thoughts and then I'll talk about how the rest of the NBA world responded. You had a team in the Celtics who, like I said, brought everybody back. And we're given another chip on the shoulder. And it's home court advantage. And it's banner night. A lot of emotions are flying high. People usually say that when emotions are flying high like that, your head might not be in the game. Bill Belichick always said this about the Patriots teams when we won 6 Super Bowls, and the first game of the regular season the next following year, he said he always hated raising the banner in front of the fans because he felt it took the team out of the game. Where they were focused on the game, it was a good thing, a good accomplishment. It should be done. It should be respected, but they would have like bands before a game and they would have all these events and interviews and the whole conundrum kind of takes you out of the game. So I don't think that's this team. I think they respond because of Joe Mazzulla specifically. He keeps them grounded. And I didn't have that feeling that they were going to come out playing bad. I didn't think they were going to come out playing like this, but a lot of that is due to the cohesiveness of the team, the kind of relationships they have with one another, the kind of mindset that they know whose role is what, who needs to do what. So that's the Celtics. And then you have the New York Knicks, who are not a bad team. They are a starting lineup who has two brand new guys in Karl-Anthony Towns and Mikal Bridges. And Towns barely had time in the offseason to hang out with the team, nevertheless, even play with them. That's a team with two brand new starters. The NBA preseason's not that long. You only have about 4 games in a span of 2 weeks to get ready. We beat them. We scored 29 3-pointers. We beat them by 20 points, and it really should have been 30 points, but we didn't have our starters play the fourth quarter, and they didn't either, because it was already over by the end of the third, because everybody was lights. And the way the world responded to this, the NBA world, I always say, the best thing about the NBA is actually NBA Twitter, NBA X. The community on there, it's hysterical. I would advise you all not to get involved because they're talking nonsense, but it's all pretty funny. And the response to this game was one of two things. I don't subscribe to either of these thought processes, but the first one was the Knicks are not as good as people thought they were going to be. It's the first game. They're just out of the gate, and they have two brand new starters. That's a hard ask to come out and beat the defending champions like that. It's not gonna work in your favor. You might win, but you're gonna have to earn that win. And they played really well. Like New York played really well, and it just wasn't enough because the Celtics played historical. And that's a tough pill to swallow. But I think New York in the next couple of games responded to that. They played the Pacers really well. They're gonna need, I would say, a month, at least a month, to get situated and become a good team. So I don't think New York's a bad team. And then the other thought process was the Celtics have perfected basketball to a point where we need rules to mediate that. They're just so good that it's unfair. We had sportscasters saying this. The guy, Nick Wright, he works for Fox Sports. He's got a pretty good TV show, and he's always spouting nonsense. He hates the Boston Celtics. And this is a guy who gets paid millions of dollars to talk about sports, and his thought was, they're so good, you have to institute rules to mediate this, because it's boring now. They're way too good, which I think is a crazy reaction. I think it's detrimental to the game to even put that thought out there. I know you need clicks, and I know you want more people to tune into the show, but that's not the way to do it. I think that's a disgusting thought process. Part of it is we got lucky. I'm a huge fan, and even I say we're probably not going to shoot like that every night. That was incredible. It truly was incredible. When I go online and Twitter or X, and I see all these fans who are saying the same thing, like, man, they're so good. The league's got to fix this. Like, they're playing. I don't understand what rules they might be able to institute to even change it. They're not breaking any rules. They're really not doing anything unfair. They're making a high tick of 3 points, which is always going to win you the game. It's math. They are 1 through 5 in every single position: the point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, the center. No matter who's out on the floor, we're defending well. Nobody is a defensive liability. People thought going into last season, Peyton Pritchard and Sam Hauser would be defensive liabilities, and that's where you could expose the Celtics. And you come to find out, during Celtics practices, you're held to a different standard playing with Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Derek White, and Drew Holiday. And they all defend really well, and that goes through the bench because they practice with them. So they get better at defending. We're a hard team to beat. And the response to that was, they're so good it's boring. The Celtics are so good, you can't even watch them play. It's like the San Antonio Spurs. Tony Parker, Tim Duncan, Kawhi Leonard Spurs. Now, that's the 2012 to 2014 team, right? I figure most of you guys watching this have no idea what I'm talking about. They played a style of basketball that was so good, but it was so fundamentally based. It was kind of boring to watch them. They did a lot of work in the paint, a lot of open spacing shots. They ran through the fundamentals, and it was like you're watching this, like there's no pizzazz, there's no spark. Why am I turning on a regular season game? The Celtics are not like that. The way the Celtics play basketball is entertaining. I'm sure if you're the opposing team and you're getting beat by 20, 30, you don't like it, but there's nothing I can do for you. Suck it up, I guess. Play them better. Part of what New York did was, and this is going to be an issue with them all season, Karl Anthony Towns doesn't play a lot of defense. For a center, that's insane. You're the biggest guy in the court, and somehow you are not steeped in the paint to cover all those spots. Now, against the Celtics, we spread you out, but you shouldn't be hanging outside the three-point line with anybody. You should, sag a little lower into the paint, ready for the coverage. The fact that you are standing outside the line, you're going to get beat every time, man. You're not that fast. I've seen girls get denied from the bar, put up a bigger fight than you. They get in the face. They don't care how big the guy is. They get in their face. They play the game. They come ready to fight. You're keeping them from their Cosmos or High Noon or whatever, their shitty music. They're going to come to play. Karl Anthony Towns, you did not come to play like that. This goes back to my previous comments of you are soft. I hope New York changes that for you, but as big as you are, you should be a lot more of a presence. And right now you're just not, but I'm going to give you time. I'm not going to come out here and spat and be biased and say, you're a bum team, you're a bum organization. Steve Kerr still holds that crown right now. You're okay. I'll give you a couple weeks. But you need to fix that. That's how I feel about the New York game. One of the things I wanted to bring up was while they were raising the banner, they did this on TNT. That was the TV channel they were streaming this. Midway through the banner raise, they said, all right, that's enough. Cut to commercial. And a lot of people were complaining about that. And me, who waiting all year to see it, that was a trash move by TNT. Thank God they're taking the basketball rights from you, and you're never going to show a game again. I like your TV show, but you can't cut the banner until at least hits the ceiling. I mean, that was ridiculous. One of the things that came out of this game, and I'm going to talk a little bit about this now and how it kind of attributes to the Detroit game and the Washington game. Jayson Tatum has entered into his MVP season. He came off the blocks sprinting. I made a comment in the first episode saying he will be top 3 in MVP voting by the end of this season. It's only been 1 week, but this was before I saw him in a regular season game. I am now even more confident that he's going to do that. Everything people were saying where he's probably going to piss coming out the gates, he's caused problems for the league. He scored 37 points against the New York Knicks on opening night. Is a menace on offense, taking shots with ease like I've never seen before. I've never seen him not struggle like that in a first week. This is always his problem. He doesn't have that killer mindset. It's been talked about before in the previous seasons. It's why he couldn't win a championship. He's not the guy. He doesn't have that mindset. I don't think he has that kind of attitude, But that's different from not having a mindset. He's not going to come at you in your face like Anthony Edwards on Minnesota, shit talk you and be a disturbance. Tatum's not that guy. He's just going to show up and play. Thank you, Steve Kerr. Bag of rocks. Thank you to Nike and the Olympic team. Jayson Tatum is playing lights out week 1. And it wasn't just one game. It wasn't just great. He played great against New York, and because he has those games all the time. He has those in him. Okay, what's he going to do these next 2 games? Well, he scored 25 points, 10 rebounds against Washington, which was a little bit lower than what we were expecting. Say, okay, this is his normal range. He's probably done from there. Then he played against Detroit on Saturday. 37 points again. Like it was nothing. He shoots the ball with ease. Watch out as the season goes on. He's going to be a bully. So Washington and Detroit are in very, very similar situations, but has one determining intersection point where they vary from each other that I think you saw playing the Celtics. The Wizards are a young team. The Pistons are a young team. They've got a lot of brand new guys on both teams. They've got fairly new coaches. Washington's was new last year. Detroit's was new this year. When we were playing Washington, they came out the gate. They came to bust ass. Jordan Poole, Kyle Kuzma, playing lights out. Sarr, their draft pick this year, the number 2 draft pick for France. He was playing a great game. He came out to defend. He's a rookie. You got 2 rookies out of the starting lineup. Somebody's got to play him. They sent him out there. And he played him really well. He played good defense on him. But that didn't stop Tatum, which that's going to happen. He's top 10 player in the league. Sometimes you could play outstanding defense. It doesn't make a difference. The thing about Washington is once halftime came, when they got into the second half, you kind of saw more of the sloppiness of a young rookie team, rookie head coach. I think he started like halfway through last season when the previous coach got fired. He's actually from my hometown's rival, which is funny. He held their scoring record for 40 years, something crazy. I'm not going to go on and say he's a bad coach, but I think there is this sort of sloppiness to the Wizards' play that I didn't see in Detroit. The Washington Wizards come out guns a-blazing on offense. They get above us. They're up by 5-6 points. Not a lot, but... And you got Jordan Poole having a great game. Kyle Kuzma was having a great game. And then it kind of just crashes down. A lot of sloppy plays, a lot of overshooting each other on offense, not a lot of great movement, crappy shots, absolute stinkers, like every 5 minutes. I remember one specific play, I think it was Kuzma loses the ball, but it gets recovered by another Wizards player. And then they pass it around the entire ring, a 3-point line. And when the Celtics do that, and it becomes an open shot, it's a bucket, unquestionably a bucket. When the Wizards did it, and they got to an open shot, it was an air ball. Now, you're not going to make the shot every time, but hit the rim. I could have hit the rim. You got an open shot. You got to hit the backboard or something. He dropped it low. I don't know how heavy that basketball was. I don't know how strong your arms are, but you got to hit the rim. A lot of sloppy play from the Wizards. And in the end, second half, we're up by 20 points. We're up by 30 points. Part of this early Jayson Tatum MVP talk was he didn't play the fourth quarter in either the New York game or the Washington game. And that speaks to just how quickly off the gate this team is really connecting, sending the game, getting the game to a point where we don't need to play our starters because it's already over. Now, the first real tussle we had was with this Detroit team. And they're kind of, like I said, they're kind of the same as Washington, but there's one specific thing that they deviate from. Where Washington has this really kind of guns a-blazing but sloppy offensive style, Detroit is really fundamentally sound right now. They're 0-3 after our game. I think that record's not really showcasing who they are. This is the team that lost, God, I think it was 18 in a row. Something terrible. It might have been more than that. And they ended up with like 10 wins last season. They were the bottom barrel of the NBA for sure. Them and Washington. But they got this new coach in Bickerstaff, who was the old Cleveland Cavaliers coach. They fired him after last season's series with the Celtics. They got one game. Donovan Mitchell, their star player, got hurt. And Jared Allen, who is one of your big men, wasn't around at all during that series. He lost to the Celtics in 5. A lot of coaches in that scenario would have lost. I think Bickerstaff's a great coach. I was shocked when they fired him. Detroit got a great pickup. I think he's the right kind of coach for that team. He's got them fundamentally sound out the gate. They're losing these games. They're close games. They're close matches. Where New York wasn't gelling and they got blown out. And Washington had good offensive output, but still sloppy. These Detroit Pistons were ready to go. Took on the challenge of playing the number 1 team in the NBA and played us well. A lot of respect to that team. I hope they do good. I hope Bickerstaff does well. I think he's a good coach. Kit Cunningham on that team, number 1 pick from a couple of years ago. There's solid players on that team. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs, but they're going to be better than last year. If you're playing like they played Saturday, that's solid. If you play like that all year, you're going to get a decent amount of wins. That was great play. But Jayson Tatum scored 37 points of you again. This time he did play the fourth quarter. But there's nobody to defend Tatum. Now, I know New York's a fresh team, and Washington and Detroit are young, and they don't have a lot of veteran guys. But more than once, I'd say on 10 occasions, there was a player, whether it was Sar, whether it was Cat, whether it was Kuzma played a little bit. He's not bad, but you could be in the face of Jayson Tatum, and he's putting you in a blender, and you're going round and round and round like a Ferris wheel. And even then, you can reset while he takes his shot, get a good hand right in front of him, and it doesn't matter. Just swishes. That was a great first week. Outstanding. Hope you all watched, because you're missing out on what is going to be a even more historical season than last year was. Jayson Tatum's playing at an MVP level, unquestionably. People think, oh, can he keep this up? For sure he can keep this up. Absolutely. He fixed that shot. The hitch is gone. His shot is quicker. He's shooting more consistently. There's always been a question of, if Tatum plays on this team with Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Drew Holiday, Porzingis, who's ever Al Horford, is there too much output from the rest of them to really recognize Tatum as an MVP? For sure, I was a believer in that he never could. If he's playing like this, shoot 60%, getting 7-8 rebounds a game, getting about 4 or 5 assists a game, you're the one making it tick. When you shoot 37 points, 35 points, you're the driving force. You're the conductor. You have the championship. People are going to start respecting you. Even though people disrespect him all the time, people are going to now look at you more with a little more admiration and really recognize what you do for this team, all the playmaking you do, which has always been an underrated part of your game. Play great on defense, play 1 through 5. keep playing like this, he's going to be in the MVP conversation at the end. I don't know if I would say he's going to win it. Stephen A. Smith came out and said he's his MVP pick. When you get that kind of praise off the start of the season, it's great for you because part of the MVP is it's a political game, and Tatum always lost the political game. Now, he didn't have the stats to back it up either, but he never was winning the political game. I mean, Joel Embiid got an MVP because he cried. He really wanted one, and they're like, yeah, hand him one. He can't make it past the second round of the playoffs, but you know what? He's definitely valuable. He's valuable for about 40 games till his knee blows out. And the Sixers can't play basketball anymore. Sixers, lost their first couple of games because Paul George and Joel Embiid won't get on the court. Bitches, a lot of them. But Tatum is going to be in that conversation now, and he's really going to be a problem for this week. He's winning the politics right off the bat. That's a good sign. He's amounting to the scores and rebounds and the assessing needs. Play a little hard on defense, because a lot of these MVP guys don't play defense like he does, covering the entire positional sphere. And let's see from here on out. Like, this was a great week for him. This was a great week for the Celtics. I touched a little bit on the other teams, what I think of them. It's going to be a good season, guys. If you're not watching, tune in. It's fun basketball. We are not the 2014 Spurs. We are playing great games. The game might be over by the third quarter, but you know what? Up until then, it's a great game. I would watch it. Now, let's take a look at what this week's going to bring, because I think it's going to answer a lot of questions. I think we had a great first week, but you really got to compound that in the second week. Because if Tatum had 3 great games and he stakes it for a whole week, it's already over. He's got to keep up with the headlines. He's got to keep up with the news stories, because that's really what's going to drive it home for MVP. And I'm not worried about people who are saying, oh, well, if he's worried about MVPs, I'm taking his head off the championship. It's like we got 4 other guys to worry about that. He's going to be fine. So on the menu this week, because I think it's a good week coming up. It's a good test. Milwaukee tonight. You got the Pacers on Wednesday. You got back-to-back games with the Hornets on Friday and Saturday. Now, that's a pretty good week. Milwaukee is going to be one of our big rivals, Giannis and Dame. I don't think they're going to do much, but you got to watch out for them anyway. And then Halliburton on the Pacers. They're a good team. They played us well in the series last year. And then you got the Hornets, who are always on the bottom of the barrel, but they got a brand new coach, and he's one of the old assistant Celtics coaches. So you got to watch out for that, because he kind of knows how to play us. He coached us last year. He's going to know how to play against it. It's going to be, I don't know how tough of a week it's going to be, but it's going to be a challenge to figure out these different schemes against these different teams, because they all play differently. So it's going to be fun to watch. Tune in. Tatum, hopefully you bring your A game. You started well, but now, it's a marathon. It's not sprints. Really compound everything you've already done. One of the things I asked for on my account were mailbag questions. I wanted to get some questions from you guys. Get a little involved in here, and I'll probably do this every week. I just want to kind of get a taste of what you guys are curious. Maybe I know some of you watch the whole week, some of you don't, some of you just watch Celtics, some of you barely watch Celtics and just listen to this. And I think that's crazy, because I don't know what I'm providing you, but I'm glad I can do it. Off the top here, this was one I got a couple of repeats of, and maybe it's because we came out firing at the gate. It's a question of overconfidence, right? Do I think the Boston Celtics can beat the regular season record? That, for those of you who don't know, is currently held by the Golden State Warriors. They went 73-1 I think. Am I doing my math right? 73-9? 73-9 in the 2016 season. That was the year they lost to the Cavaliers in the finals, 2016. That great year. Do I think Boston can replicate that kind of production? Do I think they can beat that record? Personally, you have to see what they do up until December. I think if they can limit it, and this is a crazy number to even spit out, right? Because we're probably going to play about 30, 40-ish games by December, probably 30-ish around there. If we can limit to 2 losses before Porzingis gets back, I think we're going to beat that record. Because we didn't even talk about how Porzingis is sitting on the bench until Christmas. And we have this insane offensive production anyway. And defense is rock solid. And he's really good at more help on the defensive side when things come out. Part of this is we play in the East. 70% of our games are Eastern Conference. And the bottom half of the Eastern Conference is not the most difficult competition. Part of it's luck. People have to stay healthy. Part of it is getting lucky in random games. Which if you go back to that because that's 2016 Warriors team doesn't even have Durant. They get Kevin Durant and they couldn't replicate that kind of regular season. So part of it is luck. And part of it's luck in winning a championship. And part of it is luck getting to a regular season like that. We have all the pieces to do it. It's going to take a lot to get there. But for entertainment purposes, I'll say right now, I think we can do it. We have all the pieces in place to do it, but things got to go our way until the end of the season. So that's the first mailbag question. The other question I looked at concerning Jayson Tatum. The first part of that question is, do you think Jayson Tatum will win MVP? I think I've covered that part. The second question is Jayson Tatum becoming the face/villain of the league? I think this is a great question. A hard one to answer, though. I would argue he is already the face of the league, no matter how hard they tried to push, and by that I mean sports media and even the league itself, they tried to push Anthony Edwards or Luka or Jokic. Although Jokic, I think, just doesn't have the personality to even come close. I think Tatum unquestionably is your best American-born NBA player. Luka is from Europe. Jokic is from Europe. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, great player, going to be in MVP talks all season. He's from Canada. Jayson Tatum is unquestionably your best American-born player. And it ends up being more politics, but I think the NBA is always going to push that because it is an American game. Even though the world is really catching up. Now, every time you turn on the TV, all the NBA commercials, the regular product commercials, Jayson Tatum's got to be in 8 to 10 of them. He comes up every 20 minutes. These are nationally televised. These aren't just the NBC, Sports Boston stream games. These are the national games. When Tatum's in the intro to the season commercial, he's done technology commercials and the fashion ones. He's in all of them. Isn't that really what's determinant of being the face of your league? He's getting all the publicity in that sense. It certainly has turned a corner. Looking at last year when he didn't have the championship, for sure he was not. The minute he got that, I think it's now no question he is a face of the league. Whether you want to argue with me if he's the face of the league, I would say he is, but to each his own. Now, the other half of that question was, could he be the villain of the league? I don't think the NBA is ever going to pass him off as a villain. First of all, he has no animosity like that towards any player. Anthony Edwards does. So it's interesting to see that Anthony Edwards gets pushed as the face of the league, even though he's a jerk to every single guy that steps on the court, which I think is, I'm not saying that's a negative thing. I love players like that. I think that's why people kind of gravitate towards him. But you think he would be pushed more into a villain role like Kyrie gets pushed into. But he's not. He's kind of a face of the league. Jayson Tatum has no animosity towards that. So just because all these guys on X hate Jayson Tatum, then everybody says, God, I read one tweet, he's like, he bagged LMA, had a kid with her, won a championship. Now he's an elite shooter. I hate this guy. It's like, yeah, well, you hate him, but he's not a good guy. So you need a guy to kind of do nasty things to be pushed in as a villain of the league. You can't just hate him just because he's good. He's got to kind of attribute that attitude as well, and he doesn't do that. So he's definitely, I don't think he'll ever be the villain, whether people hate him or not. So those are the two big mailbag questions that I wanted to answer. Like I said, we got a great week coming up. Milwaukee tonight, Pacers on Wednesday, Charlotte Friday, Saturday. Tune into these games, guys. You're missing out on a historical season if you're not. Don't just listen to me. I don't even know why you are in the first place. But I think I'm going to wrap it up here. I hit it about 40 minutes. Don't want to keep you guys around too long. Thank you again for tuning in. Thank you for sending in mailbag questions. And don't be afraid to reach out to me. Offer any advice. You know, it could be anywhere from, hey, great talk, very informative, to you broke your shit, get a new mic. I know. I need to upgrade my whole workspace. I like what I have right now, but it could be better. Thank you guys again for tuning in, and I'll see you next week. Go Celtics.